Hello and welcome everyone. We're back with the fucking Mermaid game. Yeah, so that's a thing we're doing. Um I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're having a good day, a good evening, a good whatever time zone you're in. Um I personally have had a pretty good day. Um I am excited for the fact that Frost Fatales is next week and I get to run Crow Country in it. I also have a new game to check out that I'm considering speedrunning, and it's weird and wild and very silly, and not horror, oddly enough. But yeah, so I'm gonna just get into the game. I'm hoping we can just finish it tonight and be done with it, because I really want to know how this turns out. But anyway, yeah, we have more of this, this wonderful, wonderful thing. I love getting Discord pings right as I actually start doing something. I'll check that later. Good God, was this loud last time? Whatever. Uh, quick recap. On the left is Lilac, the emo girl. She's a child who is in love with her older brother, who is the basic ass bitch on the left. It's very weird. I'm hoping it's just a stupid kid kind of thing by the end. Um, the It's time, yes. Hi, Cell. The red-haired woman to the left of the basic guy is his girlfriend from college who is immensely out of his fucking league. He brought her home unannounced, and emo girl is being very emo about it. So, yeah, that basically catches up the entire plot. Despite us playing the game for like 3 hours last time, the plot can be summarized in 3 sentences. It's not very deep. Oh, hey Lux, welcome in. Hope you're having a good day. Sorry I'm about to make that good day worse. Uh, but but we're here. Yeah, it's gonna make your day something. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. It's gonna make all of our day something. Also, legitimately, so when I was posting like going live notices, I was in the Pat server, and I was like, given the subject matter, I just didn't feel comfortable posting it there, given this game. Yeah, I thought better of it. It's a little weird and spicy for Redathon. Um, all right, well, I guess we're gonna get into this because why not? I go downstairs just like my brother asked. I have to apologize to Skylar, which I don't want to do because I'd rather stab her than tell her that I'm sorry. Off to a great start. I'm here for it. Um, cool. What do I have to be sorry for? She's the one who barged into my house without asking and placed an enchantment on my brother. If this was a fairy story, she would be the Wicked Witch. A fairy story. That's not okay, whatever. And she would fall off a cliff. I'm gonna try not to argue semantics with the fan fiction quality uh, visual novel. Sadly. Life is not like a fairy story, and Skylar does not fall off a cliff. Instead, she smiles sweetly with her red lips the color of a poisonous jungle frog and says, "Oh, that's all right. I imagine you were just shy. It can be scary meeting new people, can't it?" "I'm not scared of you, and I'm not shy. I just didn't feel like talking to you," I say, because that is the truth. But Jesse doesn't seem to like this answer. Jesse pats the top of my head. He used to do this in the past to cheer me up, but his fingers rake through my hair so hard it hurts. Interesting. "Just ignore Lilac," Jesse says. "She's a funny girl, but she doesn't mean any harm by the things she says." Just ignore Lilac. Damn. Dev's got jokes with the trophy name. Damn. That was rude. This is not the first time I've heard that today, and I doubt it will be the last. I spend a very long, painful, boring 2 hours and 34 minutes, I know, because I was watching the clock on the wall, sitting in the living room with my dad and Jesse and Skylar and my mother. Dad and Skylar and Jesse talk to each other, but nobody seems to notice my mother and I exist. Sometimes Skylar asks me a few questions, but I don't feel very much like talking, and I don't think anybody cares what I have to say. "Let's not fuss about Lilac. I see her every day," Dad says. "I want to know all about you, Skylar. That's why Jesse brought you back here, isn't it?" Why did this game get so loud all of a sudden? Good lord. "But I want to get to know all of Jesse's family," Skylar says. "Lilac hardly talks to anybody," Dad says, which doesn't seem very fair, because he never usually talks to me either. Speaking to her is like trying to get blood from a stone. And then Dad laughs, like he's just said something funny and not insulting. "Game, Omi, why do you keep getting louder? What are you doing?" I am not a stone. I might not talk much, and I've heard people call me cold, but I am still a human being with thoughts and hopes and feelings. I'm not a lump of emotionless rock, but sometimes I wish I was. At least Mum looks just as awkward as I am. She can't sit still in her overstuffed armchair by the window, and she keeps shifting. Every once in a while, she gets to her feet, stretching, and asks if we want a cup of tea. Or coffee, if you prefer, Skylar. And biscuits, or peanuts. Got a lot of snacks. "Stop fussing," Dad tells her sternly. "You don't need to keep bobbing up and down, trying to play the perfect hostess. It's nauseating." "I was just trying to look after our guest," Mom says, hurt. "You're gonna make her uncomfortable, acting so smarmy. It's even giving me the heebie-jeebies," Dad says, shuddering. I love the heebie-jeebies. It's a silly-ass word. He shoots a glance at Jesse and says, "Women, eh?" and then winks and smiles like he's made a very clever observation. Jesse laughs, and Mom's face turns red. She sinks back into her chair, her head hanging, and Skylar seems to take pity on her, because she says, "Actually, I wouldn't mind a cup of tea." "Wonderful," Mom says, and she actually smiles for the first time that evening. "What kind of tea do you want, Skylar?" "What types do you have?" Skylar asks. "Oh, the usual stuff. Nothing fancy. We have some Tetley's classic black tea. I think we have some green tea with honey," Mom says. "Green tea with honey sounds nice," Skylar says. "You like green tea too? That's one of my favorite blends. Andy says it's too frou-frou, though. He prefers plain black coffee without milk. That's what makes it black coffee." "He's a braver man than me," Skylar says, laughing. I can only stomach coffee if it's as diluted as possible. I'm the same, my mother says, nodding her head. We have more in common than I thought. I glare at my mother crossly. I thought she didn't like Skylar. Why is she smiling and laughing with her over something as trivial as tea? It's called making conversation. It doesn't make any sense. How can people's emotions change so very quickly? When I feel something, I commit to it. I hated Skylar when I first saw her, so I will continue to hate her. And I loved Jesse when I was old enough to understand what love is. You're still not, motherfucker. So I will always love him. People say it can be difficult to understand what I'm thinking, but I don't think it is. I'm very consistent. I am not the confusing one. Everyone else is. My mom and I don't have much in common, but I thought we could at least bond over our mutual dislike of Skylar. Now Skylar has taken even that away from me. Yeah, this girl. This girl. Oh, good lord, Dad says, sighing. I wanted to avoid all this fuss. I'm just looking after our guest, Andy, Mom says pointedly. Skylar wants a cup of tea. She said. I wouldn't mind, Skylar says. My throat is feeling a little parched. That's right. She's been doing a lot of talking, Andy, fielding all your questions. You've been cross-examining her for almost an hour. I wasn't cross-examining her. You make me sound like the bloody Gestapo. I was just curious. Weird reference to bring up in casual conversation, my guy. I know, dear, and I'm glad you've taken such an interest in Jess's girlfriend. But you should give the girl some time to breathe. Oh, very well. If Skylar's having a drink, you can put me down for a cup of tea. Black coffee, Mom asks. Of course, Dad says. And what about you, Jesse? I'll have some of that orange pico if you still have it, Jesse says. Orange pico, Dad says, and he snorts. Leave it to you to drink fancy schmancy stuff like that. Does nobody in this house appreciate the value of a simple coffee? It isn't that fancy, Jesse says. It's only Tetley's. Mom, Dad, and Skylar laugh. But I don't. Because of course you don't. I glare at Mom, hoping she'll understand what a cruel and vile and wicked traitor she's being. But she doesn't. She just sharply says, Stop looking at me like that, Lilac. Like what? I ask. Like, I don't know. Like I've just murdered a puppy. Okay. Mom might not have murdered a puppy, but she did murder our sense of camaraderie. No matter how brief, and I think that is even more important than the life of a hypothetical puppy I have never met. Okay. Do you want anything to drink? Mom asks me. I shake my head. I don't like tea or coffee. I only like hot chocolate, but we rarely have any of that in the house. Alright. Alright then. Suit yourself. And does anyone want any biscuits? We have digestives and bourbons. I'd never say no to bourbons, Jessie says. Alright, I'll be back in a tick. Cheered by her newfound purpose, Mom gets to her feet and sachets out of the living room. She returns 10 minutes later with a rose-patterned tray. 4 cups are balanced on it. Black coffee for Dad, orange pico for Jessie, and 2 green teas for her and Skylar. There's also a plate set in the middle, with bourbon biscuits arranged prettily on top. Mom serves the warm drinks, places the biscuits on the coffee table, then sits back down in her chair, smiling contently. The time sticks by slowly. The room is filled with the smell of coffee and tea. It makes my stomach turn. Dad asks Jesse more questions. They're only too happy to provide him with answers. Even Mom. who was so stony only a few minutes ago, starts chipping into the conversation. Nobody looks at me. Nobody seems to know I'm here. It's a relief when the clock finally reaches 11 and Mother yawns and says it's getting late, and I agree with her and slip off to my room before I can be called back. But nobody calls me back. Nobody cares. Why are we in the kitchen? Oh, it's the next day. Okay. Mom makes us bacon and eggs and fried tomatoes and baked beans for breakfast the next day. It's a very classic British breakfast and one of my dad's favorites. Bet they put those fucking beans on toast, the weirdos over there. I don't like bacon very much because it's covered in white sticky fat, and I don't like beans because they're red and covered in red sticky sauce. And I don't like eggs because the yolks are too yellow and sticky. I don't mind tomatoes though, so I poke at them with the prongs of my fork. I don't eat the bits of fried tomato that have touched the beans or the egg yolks because that taints them, and Mom scolds me. Why do you always poke at your food like that, Lilac? She asked me. Just eat it, for God's sake. But I don't like bacon or eggs or... I read that out of order, but who fucking cares? You know that. I know that you can be a royal pain in the backside when you want to be. Now eat. I didn't slave away at the stove for you to turn your nose up at everything. I'm not turning my nose up at it, I tell her. I haven't even moved my head. Jessie laughs. You're, you're such a caution, Lilac. Okay. Don't encourage her, Mom snaps at Jessie. This is embarrassing. What in the world must Skylar think about all this fuss? I don't care what Skylar thinks of me. She's already eaten all of her baked beans and her fried eggs and her fried tomatoes, and she has eaten nearly all of her bacon. She eats quickly but precisely, cutting up her food into tiny bite-sized pieces and popping them into her mouth. She doesn't even smear her lipstick. What a bitch. She's so perfect it's unsettling. I hate her. It's alright, Skylar says. We all have different things we like and dislike. I don't like sweet or parsnips? Interesting. I don't think I've ever... I'm curious what sweet is. Oh, you're a girl after my own heart, Mom says. Neither do I. Your fry-up is delicious, though. The bacon's so crispy. Why, thank you. I do my best. I just wish Lilac could be as appreciative as you are. Lilac's only 13. It's an awkward age. 13 is old enough to eat up all the food on her plate, Mom says. I've told you I don't like beans or eggs or bacon, I say. I've told you lots of times. Well, tough luck, Dad says. I didn't know Dad was here. Because I like beans and eggs and bacon, and this is my house, and you'll eat what I'm having or you'll go without. Then I'll have to go without? Suit yourself, Dad says coldly. But don't come crying to your mother later when you're hungry. Yeah, this is absolutely World's Best Dad. I guarantee you he has at least 3 World's Best Dad mugs in the cabinet because no one knew what else to get him. I won't cry, I tell him, because I have more pride than that. Of course you won't. You never cry, and you never laugh or smile either. You're much too frigid. And his name was checked. You can't do it, kid. You're not good enough. You can't do it. Don't be mean to Lil Dad. She is your daughter. I know. Don't remind me. Damn, he is jacked. You're right. Is this motherfucker gonna turn into a weird-ass sky whale? I hope he does. That'd make this game more interesting. He finishes the last bite of his bacon and leans back in his chair. Well, that was a lovely breakfast, if I do say so myself. Thank you, dear. The dad is the mermaid. The mermaid was Sin all along. Oh, it's no problem, my mother twitters, her face turning pink with pride. It's rare that Dad compliments Mom. It's rare he talks to her at all. Maybe the change in Dad's demeanor is another side effect of Skylar's witchy magic. Well, I think I'm gonna pop into the office. I need to fetch some things, Dad says. I'll see you later, Skylar. Jesse. Have fun, you two. Hey, Sal, are you around at the moment? If so, can you put up a poll for me? Do we think the mermaid is Lilac, Skylar, or the dad? Because they're the only three that make sense at this point. Actually, not true. Include Jesse, because he could be a Kelpie. Dad doesn't tell me that he'll see me later, and he doesn't tell me to have fun. But that's fine. Who is Mermaid? Thank you. I appreciate you. I never expected him to. Dad gets to his feet and ambles around the table. He presses a kiss against Mom's cheek, which makes her turn red, and then he leaves. I sigh and lean back in my chair. I'm glad to see Dad gone. I can't stand being with him, and I'm sure he can't stand being with me. He hates me. Lilac, Mom says, turning her attention back to me. Aren't you going to eat a bit more of your breakfast? Everyone else is nearly finished. Those are the right names. Yes, thank you again. I ate the tomatoes, but I don't like the beans or the bacon or the eggs. I swear I feel like it has swapped up the order of those three words almost every time it has put them on screen. And what's wrong with the beacon? The beacons. The beacons are lit. What's wrong with the beans or the bacon or the eggs, for heaven's sake? I don't like the texture. I've told you this before. I don't like slimy foods. Oh, you and your textures. It's any excuse with you. No, no, food textures are a real thing. I, I'm not one to, agree with Lilac on too many things, but, food textures are a real thing. It isn't an excuse, I say. I can't eat it. There's no such thing as can't, Mom says. Then why is can't a word, I ask her. It's not a word, it's a contraction. Now stop complaining. You have an answer for everything. Would you prefer if I was so stupid I didn't have an answer for anything? Don't give me that, Mom says sharply, and then looks at Skylar. I'm sorry about this. You must think she's so spoiled. I already said I don't mind. I was a picky eater when I was young, too. Sometimes I think it goes beyond being picky. She barely eats anything apart from raw carrots and celery sticks. Ah, she's a horse. She's a horse girl. Ah, shit. We're still leaning into the kelpiness of this. Because kelpies are part horse. I wish I only ate carrots and celery. Then I wouldn't need to fuss over my weight, Skylar says. Yeah, no worries, though. You don't need to fuss over your weight. I think you're perfect, just the way you are. Oh, Jessie, Skylar says, and she giggles coyly when Jessie presses a kiss against her cheek. I grit my teeth together. Dad won. Boo. It's Jessie. Jessie's the mermaid. If I wasn't hungry before, I'm certainly not hungry now. I don't want to waste food. It costs good money. Don't worry so much, Mom. Dad's right. You do fuss too much. You'll get wrinkles before you're 50. But, Mom begins, but Jessie cuts her off. I'm so hungry, even if Lil isn't, and that bacon on her plate looks pretty appealing. Can I have what you don't want? Under normal circumstances, I would be only too pleased to oblige. I know Jessie is trying to help me. and I know I should appreciate this gesture, but... Sure, I reply, my voice clipped as I slide my plate over to him. I don't say anything else to him. I don't feel like talking. How can I be friendly towards somebody who has hurt me so badly? Just said appreciatively as he digs into my uneaten greasy bacon. This really hits the spot. You look like you're enjoying yourself, Skylar says. Of course I'm enjoying myself. I've been living off microwaved meals for too long. I really missed your cooking back at uni, Mom. Well, thank you, Mom says. I'm glad you like my cooking. But should you really eat all that? Why not? I'm a growing boy, Jesse says, puffing out his chest to prove his point. It doesn't prove his point, though, because Jesse doesn't have much of a chest. Not like, what the fuck? Not like a story. Jesse has always been very tall and skinny, and has hardly any muscle. I suppose you could call him lanky. He reminds me a bit of a greyhound, if greyhounds were humans, which they aren't. As this is very weird. Jesse's old PE teacher thought he might be a good basketball player because of his height, but he soon changed his mind after he learned how athletically inclined Jesse is, which is to say, not at all. Well, you always have been skinny, Mom says. I don't think there's any danger of you getting fat, Jesse, but I don't think you should baby Lilac like this. What do you mean, Jesse asks, after swallowing a mouthful of baked beans. I made this food for her. She should at least try to eat it, but she always turns her nose up at my meals like she's too good for them. I want to tell Mom that I don't reject food because I think I'm too good for it. That's a stupid saying anyway, because who thinks they're too good to eat? We need to eat to live. I'm not stupid. It's not my fault I don't like most foods. I don't like the textures. Sticky, slimy foods make me want to tear my tongue out. I've tried to explain this to Mom before, but she doesn't want to listen. She says I'm just being picky. That's why I stopped trying to explain things to her. I want her to grow up, Mom says. She's 13, not 3. She needs to start acting her age. Yeah, I was very curious about that as well. She doesn't like slimy things, but she was eating fried tomatoes. The second you get past the friedness of it, tomatoes are extremely slimy. I don't know. I refuse to believe this child is capable of making sense, so. She's still a kid, Mom. Don't be so hard on her. Let her be a kid for a little longer, won't you? Being an adult's pretty tough, as I'm beginning to learn. I suppose you're right, Mom says, and she sighs. Mom looks at me. So do Jesse and Skylar. I don't know why they're looking at me. I don't want them to look at me. I want to be left alone. Jesse and Skylar decide to go for a walk after breakfast. I don't really want to go for a walk with them, but Jesse insists. Come on, Lilac, it'll be fun, he says. It won't be fun. Zennor is tiny, and I've seen everything there is to see. But Skylar hasn't. I'm very interested, Skylar says. You could be our tour guide, Lilac. I'm sure this lovely old village has a lot of stories. I don't know any stories, I say, turning my nose up in the air. Well, Jesse says, and he sighs. Can't you be a bit more cooperative? It's alright, Jesse. I haven't been here a full day yet. It's not surprising if she's still uncomfortable around me. And that's precisely why we need to spend more time together. Now come on, Lil, get your shoes on. I don't like the commanding way Jesse talks to me. He sounds eerily like Dad. A thought makes my skin crawl. I think I should stay and help Mom wash the dishes, I say. Oh, maybe I should help too, Skylar says. Jesse waves one hand carelessly. It's the first day of the school holidays, Lil. You can afford to relax a little. You don't really want to stay inside and clean dishes, do you? I look at the floor, fiddling with the sleeves of my shirt. Jessie's right. I thought I could trust Mom, but she smiled and laughed and chatted with Skylar last night like they were best friends. She betrayed me. Are you sure you don't want any help? Skylar asked my mother. We can postpone our walk for a while if you want. Mom usually complains when she has to do the housework on her own. Dad never helps, so I often have to. Though I don't like washing the dishes, because I don't like getting wet. I do it without complaining, though, because I used to feel sorry for my mother doing so much work without being rewarded. I don't feel sorry for her anymore, though. I don't want to help her, and I don't think she wants any help either. Oh no, don't mind me. Go and have fun. Jessie's right. It would be boring to sit in here with me. I can take care of this on my own. I wouldn't be bored, Sarah says. I have two younger brothers myself, so I'm used to helping around the house. That's kind of you, Mom says, but it's alright. You're a guest, Skylar. You didn't come here to clean my kitchen. You came here to spend time with Jessie. I can spend time with Jessie at university. I want to get to know his family, too. What a sweet girl you are, my mother says. Jessie really is lucky to have met you. I know, Jessie says, squeezing Skylar's hand. I tell myself that every day. You are extremely lucky, good sir. Oh, you. Skylar says. You really don't need to worry, though. We'll have lots of chances to chat later. Now you two should run along. That's right, Skylar. It's a lovely, clear day. If we go over to the cliffs, we should be able to see for miles around. This is your chance, Lilac. This is me talking directly to your conscience. Go with them. Push her off the cliff. Do it. Yeah, that's a good idea. Go to the cliffs. It's really pretty, even if it is quite cold this time of year. I don't know why Mom is calling Zennor's cliffs pretty. She rarely goes out for walks herself. She prefers driving to walking, and hates getting her shoes dirty. People never say what they really think. Is it any wonder I struggle so much? So Skylar and Jessie and I go on a walk through Zennor, and it's not fun like Jessie said it would be. It's cold and sad and boring. This is just another one of Jessie's broken promises. It's the 22nd of December, and it's a cold day. A chill wind is blowing in from the sea, so I shiver. Do you think we're gonna actually see these cliffs, or this excursion, or are they just gonna tell us about it against the moody dark sky? The sky up ahead is steely and blue, and the clouds are very, very gray. I don't mind the gloomy sky though, because it matches my mood. With every single footstep, I feel more and more miserable. Jessie and Skylar walk ahead, talking to one another cheerfully. They're so happy it looks like they're surrounded by their own little bubble, completely impervious to how cold it is. I am outside the bubble looking in, like a cat staring at a goldfish inside a bowl. This is how I always feel when it comes to social interactions. It feels like everybody else was born knowing what to do and what to say at all times, but I never know what the appropriate response is or what people are expecting from me, so I keep my mouth shut. It's easier to be quiet than risk offending or upsetting anybody, which is what usually happens whenever I try to talk. I watch the other girls at school chatting about TV shows and boy bands and makeup and all sorts of things I don't care about. I think their conversations are pointless and stupid, but they always look like they're enjoying themselves. They smile and laugh, and I say nothing. Sometimes I feel like an alien. Or a mermaid. Sometimes I think I'm the only normal human, and it's everybody else that's an alien. Other people speak in a strange language that sounds like English, but I can't understand it. I know what all the individual words mean, but they don't come together properly in my head. It's horribly frustrating. I used to be able to understand Jesse, but even he's turned his back on me. Now he only cares about Skylar. They walk together companionably, with their fingers linked together, and they talk in a soft, muffled whisper that doesn't carry on the cold breeze. I can't hear them, and I can't understand them. I can't understand anything. Oh, nope, we don't get to see the cliffs. We just get to see generic town view. Every once in a while, Jesse or Skylar remember that I'm here, trudging along behind them, and they ask if I'm alright. What's wrong, Will? Why aren't you smiling? I don't feel like smiling, I say. Alright then, Jesse says with a shrug of his shoulder. Suit yourself, but it seems like a waste. It's such a nice day. It's cold and windy and my hair is getting messy, I tell him. Your hair is always messy, Will, Jesse says as he laughs and ruffles the top of my head. I used to like it when Jesse touched me. He was the only person I didn't mind being so close. Now his touch stings. I know even though he's touching me, he would rather be touching Skylar. Her soft, smooth skin has tainted Jesse's fingers. I can smell her perfume on him, and when he touches me, it's like she has touched me by proxy, and I cannot stand it. It makes me want to scream. I don't scream, though, because that wouldn't be a healthy way to deal with my emotions. Instead, I shrug Jesse's fingers away from me and scowl. You'll mess my hair up even more, I tell him, because I've heard other girls in school talk about their hair a lot, so it must be important. Oh, how hoity-toity, Jesse says, still laughing. You never used to worry when I ruffled your hair, Lil. You really are growing up. She's at that age, Skylar says wisely. It's normal for teenagers to care about their looks. I guess Lil is a teenager, huh? I'm used to looking at her like my kid sister, but she's not going to be a kid forever. She'll start developing an interest in makeup soon, and then clothes, and then she'll have a boyfriend before you know it, Skylar says. I can't imagine Lil wearing makeup. She's never been interested in it before. Just wait a year or two. You'll be surprised. I'm already surprised. I feel like Lil's changed a lot since I was away. She used to cling to me like a limpet, but now... His voice trails away. He looks sad, but I don't know why. I don't understand. I'm not used to not understanding Jesse, and it's upsetting me. Speaking of makeup, that Aslan girl has a face full of it the last time she came over, Jesse says. She isn't that much older than you, is she, Lil? Who's Aslan? Skylar asks. One of Lil's friends, Jesse says, although that isn't strictly true. Aslan is my only friend. She's a nice girl, very blonde and bubbly. She's been to our house a couple times before. Blonde and bubbly, Skylar says. She doesn't sound much like Lilac. They're polar opposites, but they seem to get along, Jesse says, laughing. Aslan is quite mature for her age, I think. She's always looking out for Lil. I snort because mature is the last word I would use to describe Aslan, but Jesse doesn't seem to notice. How is Aslan anyway, Jesse asks. Is she alright? Aslan is fine, I say. I spoke to her on the phone last night. Oh, did you? Is that why you went up to your room? It's one of the reasons, I say. I wanted to talk to her about something. And to think, whenever you had a problem, you used to talk to me, Jesse says. You've been away at university for 3 months. I had to get used to you not being there. But I'm here now, aren't I? If there's anything wrong, you can tell me, Lil. That's what Jesse says, but I don't think he really wants to know what's wrong. I could tell him that I want Skylar to go away, and I never want to see her again, and I'd be happier if she was cold and dead and buried in the ground, but that would make Jesse angry with me. He likes Skylar more than he likes me, as he should. You're his sister. I know he would win if he had to choose between us. There isn't anything wrong, I tell him after a long pause, because I know I'm fighting a losing battle. Are you sure? Jessie presses. You've been so quiet lately. I'm always quiet. Quieter than usual, then. If I have problems, I'll tell Aslan. You wouldn't understand. Ouch, that hurts, Jessie says. I thought nobody understood you better than I do. I thought that too, I say quietly, but the wind is blowing loudly and Jessie doesn't hear me. Maybe he doesn't want to. I guess I'm being unreasonable, Jessie says. I can't expect you to follow me around like a puppy forever. You're getting older and you have your own friends and your own life. That's a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't want to have my own friends or my own life. I just want Jessie. I want him so badly and he doesn't even realize it. He doesn't know how much I love him. I don't think even I know how much I love him. Oh shit, we do get the cliffs. I'll be damned. Oh, Skylar suddenly says, pointing in the distance. Look at those cliffs. I look, though I've seen the cliffs hundreds upon hundreds of times in the past. The cliffs of Zennor are very, very steep and sharp. They're gray and they rise up high out of the water, which batters against them and tries to erode them away. The sea is working itself up into a lather on the sharp, jagged rocks. The waves churn over themselves like the contents of a witch's cauldron, flecking spray everywhere. It smells of salt and the sea. These cliffs sure are something, huh? Jessie says, grinning. This is Zennor Head, and at its highest point, the cliffs rise 300 feet above sea level. Amazing, Skylar says, her lips pursed in a little circle. London is so flat, I've never seen sights like this. Close enough. Zennor Head's pretty tame, really, compared to some parts of Cornwall. The cliffs at Bottleack are much steeper, Jessie says. Bottleack? Nah, that's what I'm thinking too, homie. It's right on the coast, and its cliffs are made of granite. There was a mine there back in the old days. You can still look around it. It's pretty interesting. Rumor has it that the old mines are haunted by the ghosts of all the workers who died there. Well, of course there'd be a ghost story or two, Sarah says. There always is. Tentacle? Tentacle? I'm gonna go with Tentacle. Tentacle has some pretty cliffs too, Jessie continues. In the summer, they're all studded with wildflowers. I think it's even prettier than Zennor. Tentacle, Skylar says, her brow furrowing. Why does that sound so familiar? It's said King Arthur himself was born in Tentacle Castle. You can still go to the ruined castle. It's very pretty. King Arthur, Skylar says, her eyes lighting up. You mean the one who led the Knights of the Round Table? The very one, Jessie says. Wow, Skylar says. Cornwall really is full of history. I had no idea. Well, now you do, Jessie says, laughing. We could go to Tentacle if you wanted. It isn't so far away from here. I think I'd like that, Skylar says. I've spent too long in London. I want to explore the countryside. I stare at Jessie, my eyes wide, my mouth open, but no sound comes out. Jessie and I went to Tentacle Castle when we were younger. He took me there when he was in year 10 and I was still in primary school. He had to take photographs for an art project, and Mom and Dad couldn't come with us. Tentacle was supposed to be a special, sacred place for Jessie and me, but now he wants to take Skylar there. Ah, what a charmer Jessie is, taking his girls to an old ruined castle that a mythical king allegedly was born at. Sure. He isn't content to simply destroy my present happiness. He also wants to go into the past and taint my most precious memories. Has he not done enough to hurt me? Actually, you know what? I was being sarcastic, but in hindsight, a day trip to a castle would be a pretty cool date. Like, I'd be down for that. I retract what I said. Jesse knows what he's doing. Does he not care how I feel? Then we'll do just that, Jesse says. I want to make sure your trip here is as fun as possible. But I've already had a lot of fun, Jesse. After all, I'm with you. Skylar, Jesse says quietly, looking into her eyes. Jesse, Skylar says, looking into his eyes. They've completely forgotten about me. It's almost like I'm not here at all. The wind catches in Skylar's long red hair, so it flutters behind her like a copper curtain. But she doesn't pause to brush her hair out of her eyes. She continues to look at him. Her eyes are very big and smoky, her eyelashes are unnaturally long, and they're lined with a sweep of black eyeliner. Jesse brings his fingers beneath Skylar's chin and tips her head upward, their lips pressed together. Skylar's cherry red lips threatening to consume Jesse's. Oh shit, she's eating his face. They're kissing. Thanks for the summary. I've never seen Jesse kiss anybody before, other than me or my mother, but he only ever kisses us on the cheek. Again, as he should. Also, I do just want to pause. I really like this art. This is really pretty. I know, right? This fucking girl, I swear. This is very different to that. It looks like a scene from a Hollywood movie. A scene a plain girl like me has no right to intrude upon. At first, I thought Skylar was the intruder, forcing her way into my life and stealing my brother from me. But now as I stand at Zennor Head, the waves breaking against the rocks below, I have to wonder whether I am the intruder. Am I getting in the way of my brother and Skylar? Would everybody be happier if I disappeared? Nope, stop it. Nobody at school would miss me. I don't have any friends other than Aslan, and I don't really think she likes me. Close enough? She likes my brother. She likes me for my brother. I am unnecessary and extraneous. I am my father's second child, the unwanted child. I'm Jesse's half-sister, and without him, I feel like half a person. What's the point in being alive when the one person I love no longer loves me? Oh! I'm really happy I met you, Skylar, Jesse says, breaking the kiss. I'm glad I met you too, Jesse, Skylar says, resting her head on his shoulder. I look at them from afar and frown, my eyes narrowed. This is all wrong. Why should I have to die? Haven't I suffered enough already? You? Don't. So they went on a walk to the cliffs, and the brother and girlfriend kissed, and she's taking it about as well as you would expect her to. That is what you have come back to. In case you didn't see it, though, I'll go back for a second. It was actually... It's pretty art. I'll give him that. It was pretty art. I was here first, and I loved Jessie first, and I am not going to give him up to her. I won't let her steal my place. I hate her. I hate her, I hate her, I hate her, and I need to get rid of her. Push her off the cliff. When she dies, the spell will be broken, and Jesse will come to his senses. He'll realize he was cursed by a wicked witch, and then he will apologize to me for being led astray by her charms. And he will embrace me and kiss me and promise to love me forever and ever. Ugh. I'll make sure Skylar never, ever, ever comes between me and Jesse ever again. But how? But how, poor Yor? Skylar is a witch, and I am just a human. She has worked her magic on everybody inside my house, including my mother, and I have no more allies. I will have to get rid of her on my own. How do witches in fairy tales meet their ends? In Snow White, the wicked witch was made to put on red-hot shoes, which made her dance and dance and dance until she died. I don't think I could find any red-hot shoes. If I tried to heat Skylar's black boots up in the oven, they'd probably melt, and then Mom would shout at me. I need to do something else, something more practical. Something like, "These cliffs are very steep," Skylar says, her voice soft and crooning. "I'm starting to feel a little lightheaded." "Ah, I'm sorry. We can go back if you want. I'm done enjoying the view," Jessie says. "Is that all right?" Skylar asks. "Of course. I'd do anything for you," Jessie says, kissing the top of her head. Then he turns to me. "Are you finished, Lil? Or do you want to stay out here a bit longer? Skylar and I are going to go back." I don't reply. I stare out over the cliffs at the water which pounds against the rocks 300 feet below. I think I have come up with an idea. Well, you missed your fucking shot. Dinner tonight is fish pie with broccoli and carrots. I don't like my mother's fish pie very much because there's a lot of fish and not very much pie. The fish is covered in a white creamy sauce and everything is very slimy. And I don't like slimy foods because they make me feel like I'm eating frog spawn. That is not a food visual I want to. I pick at the fish pie, trying to pluck out the firm bits of salmon and the comma-shaped prawns, but I can't even eat those because they're covered in sticky white sauce. I leave the pie and instead focus on the vegetables. Most of the carrots and the broccoli haven't touched the pie, thankfully, so I can eat those without worrying about the smooth, weird texture. "Oh, for God's sake," my mother says when she sees me picking at my food. "Why are you always like this, Lilac?" "I don't like slimy food," I tell her. "You should know that." "My fish pie isn't slimy," Mom says. "It's creamy." "Is there a difference?" "Of course there's a difference," Mom says crossly. "I put a lot of butter in it, and some expensive seafood too. It's luxurious. You should count yourself lucky I make nice food for you every day, Lilac, instead of fast food rubbish." I don't tell my mom that I would prefer fast food rubbish. I've been to McDonald's in St. Ives with Aslan a few times before, McDonald's mentioned. I don't really like McDonald's because it's so noisy and crowded. The tables and chairs are sticky too, and there are crumpled napkins and crushed pots of sauce everywhere, which make me shudder. I don't mind the food though. The chicken nuggets are nice and crispy, and so are the fries. They're not slimy like my mother's food. I will say this, personally, when it comes to fast food, McDonald's nuggets. If we're talking about like shitty fast food processed nuggets, McDonald's are the best. Now, like, if you're going to a place that has higher quality chicken, where you're getting like just like hunks of chicken that have been fried, that's a different category. But actual shitty crushed up processed chicken nuggets, McDonald's are the best. I like how everything in McDonald's comes separated into different containers. The chicken nuggets are in their own cardboard box, and so are the fries, so I don't need to worry about my food touching. McDonald's is very convenient. I just wish it wasn't so loud. I don't tell my mother that I like McDonald's more than her fish pie, because I think it would upset her. I can't bring myself to eat her food either, though, so I continue to toy with it. Even if the dinner tonight wasn't fish pie, which it is, I don't think I'd be able to eat much. I'm too busy thinking about my plan. Can I really go through with it? I don't know. I got into a lot of trouble when I stabbed Megan in the hand with a compass in math class, and I barely even scratched her. She got a puncture in her hand and she bled a bit, but that was all. I can't afford to be so lax when it comes to Skylar. I have no choice. What is it, Lilac? Skylar suddenly asks. Is there something on my face? I shake my head. Oh, thank goodness. I was starting to get worried, Skylar says, and she laughs. Stop looking at Skylar like that, Lilac, Dad says. She's not an exhibit at the zoo. You'll make the poor girl feel uncomfortable. Well, I am from the city, Skylar says. I might seem strange to Lilac. You don't need to make excuses for her, Dad says. Everybody knows Lilac's the strange one here. She's always been peculiar, ever since she was a baby. Okay, I'm gonna go to break real quick so I can stretch my legs and stop talking for a brief moment. So, I will be right back. Ads will play. Enjoy some tunes. I'll be right back, homies. Okay, we are back, and we're back to dealing with this. Okay, you don't need to make excuses for her, Dad says. Everybody knows Lilac's the strange one here. She's always been peculiar ever since she was a baby. Lots of geniuses were thought to be peculiar when they were younger, but then they went on. Oh wow, I just flat out stopped that sentence in the middle. But then they went on to dazzle the world, like Percy Shelley or Isaac Newton. Or Jeremy Kyle, Jesse chips in, grinning. Did you know he had a thing about licking golf balls? What the fuck kind of a fun fact is that to bring up at the table? What, really? Skylar asks. I read about it online. Apparently he has OCD. You'd think, having OCD and all, you wouldn't want to lick your golf balls clean, but the human brain is a strange thing. Oh, I know all about that, Dad says. I have to deal with Lilac. You never know, Skylar says. She might surprise you when she gets older. She could have all sorts of talents just bursting to get out. Our Lilac, Dad says. He smirks. That's unlikely. The only thing she's good at is being bloody insolent. Now, that's not strictly true, Jessie says. Lil has lots of skills. She's very imaginative, and she's good at drawing. Isn't that right, Lil? I'll believe it when I see it, Dad says. She's never shown me any of her drawings. You'd be surprised. She's quite good at it, really. Better than me, anyway. Well, you can't even draw a straight line, Skylar says, digging Jessie in the ribs, and he laughs. Yeah, you don't need to tell me. You know I'm not gifted with the pen or paper. Lil is, though. What does she draw? Skylar asks, as though I'm not sitting at the dinner table with her and I could not answer for myself. Oh, all sorts. Mostly manga characters, Jessie says. Of fucking course she does. They're the ones with big eyes? Just... That's right. She's drawn a lot of cute girls in her sketchbook, and she did a few pictures of me, too. She made me look even more handsome than I really am, Jessie says. How lovely, Skylar says, smiling. I have a few cousins who are into that manga stuff. It's like cartoons, isn't it? Japanese cartoons, yeah. Lil likes that kind of thing. Fucking weeb. I wonder, Skylar looks at me smiling. Why don't you show me your pictures, Lil? I'm curious. Look. Ain't none of us in here surprised at this girl being a weeb. Let's be honest. Now Skylar has started to use the nickname Jessie coined for me, like she has any right. It's almost like she wants to be friends with me. Well, I don't want to be friends with her. She's already enchanted 3/4 of my family, and I refuse to fall for her fake kindness. If she really was as nice as she's pretending, she wouldn't have stolen Jessie from me. I look at the hateful witch sitting across from the table, wearing the skin of an ordinary girl, and say flatly, I'd rather not. Oh, why not? I'd really love to see your artwork, Lil. You wouldn't. My drawings aren't that good. A true artist. I'm sure they're better than mine. I can't draw for toffee. I don't want to show you. You'd laugh at me. I wouldn't laugh, Skylar says. I don't want to make fun of you. I'm interested in you, can't you tell? I wish she wasn't. I wish she would go away. If she keeps acting this nice to me, I might start to reconsider my plan, and then I will never be able to get rid of her. This must be one of her tricks. She's trying to cast her magic on me, so I'll forgive her. But I never will. I am too clever for her. Nobody's interested in me. You're a liar, I say very quietly so Skylar can't hear me. I wish everyone would leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Come on, Lilac. Everybody else is finished. Why don't you hurry up and eat? Just ignore her, Dad says carelessly. She's looking for attention. That's what she wants. But Dad is wrong. I don't want attention. Least of all from him or Mom. I would be perfectly content if they left me alone and never ever spoke to me again. I only care about Jessie. Alright, fine. Go hungry. See if I care. My mother says, which I think is strange, because it's obvious that she does care. If she didn't, she wouldn't look so annoyed. I don't understand people. They always tell lies and say things that they don't mean, but I am always the one who gets told that I'm confusing. You did not miss the mermaid. Um, and you know what? That's valid. I could have said something. I apologize. To surmise what we've done so far, real quick. Um, she complained about breakfast, and then they went on a walk together to the cliffs, and she has devised a plan to presumably murder Skylar. She keeps being very coy about it and saying she's just gonna get rid of her, but I'm fairly confident she plans to straight up murder this girl. And then she went home and complained about dinner. Also, in case you couldn't guess this for yourself, with just the context you already had, Lilac is a fucking weeb. She draws manga characters in her sketchbooks, but refuses to show people because she doesn't think she's good at it. Hey, you know what? Moving VOD archives is a pain in the ass, but someone's got to do it. Good on you. I think I'm rather straightforward compared to everybody else. Dinner comes to an end. Dad ambles off to the living room, and Jesse says something about practicing his guitar. He asks Skylar if she wants to come with him, but she shakes her head. It's all right. I didn't clean the table at breakfast, so I want to help now, she says. You don't need to help, dear. You're a guest. Lilac can help me clean up, can't you? I nod my head, because that is usually my job. Mom washes the dishes, and I dry them. That's the way it's been ever since Jessie left home and went to university. It's the way that things are. That is how I understand the world, but Skylar refuses to listen. I don't want to be a guest. I'd like to be a real member of your family someday. And that's why I want to help while I'm here. It's my way of thanking you for being so considerate, and it wouldn't feel right otherwise. Well, when you put it like that, Mom says, laughing. All right, you twisted my arm. Go on then. Do you want to dry the dishes with me, Lil? Skylar asks. You want to clean up with our lilac? My mom asks, frowning. That's right. I want to chat with her a bit alone. I thought this would be a good time opportunity. What the fuck ever. As good an opportunity as any. Skylar says. But why do you want to talk with Lilac? Mom asks, as though she can't fathom why anybody would want to do such a ridiculous thing. I want to get to know her a bit better. I thought it might be hard for her to talk with so many people around. Plus, I figured you might want to rest after making us such a lovely meal. Well, I do feel rather tired, my mother says. That's very thoughtful of you, dear. Don't mention it. I think I might just take you up on the offer. Just don't expect to get too much out of Miss Grumpy here. She barely even speaks to me, and I'm her mother. I won't be pushy. Lo can open up to me when she wants. And if she doesn't, that's alright too. One of my cousins is very shy, so this is nothing new for me. Alright then, Mom says, but she looks doubtful. Don't cause Skylar any mischief, alright, Lilac? Mom leaves the kitchen, closing the door behind her with a thud. She doesn't ask me if I want to wash dishes with Skylar, which I don't. I don't want to be alone with her. I can't stand her. If my plan has any chance of succeeding, though, I need to get used to being alone with Skylar. This might be the perfect opportunity to put everything in motion. Oh no. Skylar washes the dishes while I dry them. My dishcloth squeaks against the ceramic and bubbles of washing dish liquid hang in the air. While I work, I turn my plan over in my head. I've had some doubts during the day, but my resolve hardens with each passing second. I can't let this strange girl with her red hair and her red lips dominate my life any longer. I don't want her to be part of my family. I want my family to go back to the way it used to be. I'm sick of seeing her at the dinner table, and I'm sick of my parents fussing over her, and I'm sick of Jessie smiling at her and kissing her cheek and making her blush. I'm so sick I feel like I might throw up a little dinner I was able to eat into the sink where the soapy dishes and plates and pans are sitting. Skylar doesn't belong in Zennor. She doesn't belong in my world. My world was comprised only of two people, Jessie and me. It was a pretty pleasant bubble, sweet and fragrant like the washing up liquid bubbles dancing in the kitchen. I didn't need any other people in my world. I didn't need any other friends. I didn't want them. I thought everything would be fine as long as I had Jessie. But then Skylar came along. She burst my happy bubble, and now Jessie doesn't care about me anymore. So how can I care about myself? My head hurts. So does my heart. I just want this to be over with. I just want... What's wrong, Lil? You've stopped drying the dishes. Oh, I say, and I blink, because Skylar is right. I've been standing there staring in his face, and I wasn't even aware I was doing it. Not to worry, it's alright. I space out a lot too. Was something on your mind? I was just thinking about something, I say slowly. And what's that? I thought, I say, and I look down at my feet, biting my lower lip. I've been acting rather rude to you during your visit. That's a lie. I don't think I've been acting rude at all. Yet that would be because you have zero social skills. Skylar is the rude one. She's the one who barged into my life and turned everything upside down, not me. And she never even apologized. Not like I did. But I apologized to Skylar all the same, with a demure, very demure. I'm sorry. That tastes like poison, because this is the only way I can make this plan work. This is the only way I can get rid of her. You don't need to apologize, says Skylar. I don't blame you for being on your guard. I'm a strange woman you've never met before, and spending so much time with me must be tiring. It is rather tiring, I say, surprised to find myself as agreeing with Skylar for once. Maybe she isn't as thoughtless as I first imagined. In fact, she seems to understand my feelings rather well. If she knows I hate her, why is she still here? Cause she's in a relationship with your brother. Is she trying to hurt me on purpose? But Jessie is right, I tell her, though I secretly think Jessie is all wrong. I should be more polite to you. I was thinking about that at dinner, actually. Is that why you were staring at me? Skylar asks. Yes, I say. I was thinking I should do something nice for you, to show you I'm sorry. You don't need to go out of your way for my sake, Skylar says. Talking with you is more than enough. But actions speak louder than words. That's what Dad always tells me. Well, how about this? Why don't you show me your sketchbook? I'm very interested in seeing your drawings. My sketchbook isn't very special. I could do something more exciting. Like what? Are you going to draw a picture of me? No, I say, and I shake my head. I thought I could take you on a walk to Zennor Head, and I could tell you a story. Oh, shit, she does want to push her off the cliff. I was fucking right. Zennor Head, Skylar repeats. But we already went there today, and it's getting dark outside. I know, I say, but my story is best told at night, and it's a really good story, I promise. Well, Jessie did say you had a good imagination. It isn't my imagination, I tell her. This story really happened in Zennor hundreds of years ago. I thought you might like to hear it. Is it a ghost story? Skylar asks. No, I say. It's a love story. And you want to tell me it? Skylar asks. That's right. It's because I hope you and Jessie can stay together and be happy, just like the characters in the story. Oh, Lilac, thank you, Skylar says, and her eyes soften, and she smiles so prettily I almost forget how much I hate her. Looks. Why are you thanking me? I ask her, because I don't understand why she looks so grateful. I only told her I would tell her a story. Because you really are a sweet girl, Skylar says. I was afraid you didn't like me, or I'd done something to upset you. But now I see I was worrying for nothing. You're very kind. Skylar sets one of the soapy plates back down in the sink and turns to me. She bends down so we're at eye level, then winds her arms around me in an embrace. Good lord. She's so fucking deadpan, even in this hug. I stand there stiffly like a china doll and stare into space, my eyes wide. I didn't expect to be hugged. I don't think I like it. The feeling of unfamiliar hands over my body makes my skin crawl even more than the texture of slimy food on my tongue. It's suffocating. It's stifling. How dare she touch me? Do you know who I am? How dare she? But to my surprise, her embrace is very soft, and her hair tickles my cheek, and she smells faintly of lavender. The hug isn't so bad after all. It actually feels nice. Why does it feel nice? Maybe because you don't fucking know what affection is, because your parents are awful. I don't know. It's getting harder and harder for me to understand anything. No. It's pretty chilly outside, Skylar says, wrapping her arms around herself and shivering. The wind is colder at night than it was during the day. It runs through my short, choppy hair and whips up my cheeks until they turn bright red. Almost as red as Skylar's rust-colored hair and her rust-colored lips. No, I found myself thinking, as I examined Skylar. Her hair and lips aren't the color of rust. They are much too bright for that. They look more like blood. How appropriate! This girl, I swear. If Mrs. Lambert was here, she'd probably call this observation of mine ironic. Mrs. Lambert taught us all about irony in class a few weeks ago. She said there's a special type of irony writers use in stories called dramatic irony, when the narrative significance of a character's words, actions, or appearance is clear to the reader, but unknown to the characters themselves. Cool, we're getting a fucking grammar lesson. There are a few other kinds of ironies too, but they are very complex, and it was hard for me to wrap my head around. I wasn't the only one who struggled with the concept either. Even Isla, who is quite smart, was frowning and clicking the top of her mechanical pencil, which is something she does when she's confused. I think I understand what dramatic irony means now, though. Push her. Do it. Do it. Wow, these cliffs are so steep, Skylar says, peering over the high cliffs that lead to the sharp and pointed rocks below. They make my legs feel weak. Don't you like heights? I ask. I can't say I'm a big fan. My parents took me on the London Eye when I was little, and I had to keep my eyes closed the whole time. I was terrified, and I was inside a little glass pod then. Is the London Eye the big wheel that spins around? That's right. Have you ever been on it? I've never been to London, I tell her. I've just seen photographs online. It didn't look like it was that scary. Well, I was only 6 at the time, Skylar says, and I was a huge crybaby. I'm not quite as scared of heights now. But you still don't like them, I say. No, I don't, Skylar says. That's a shame, I say. We need to be a bit closer to the edge of the cliff so I can tell my story. You are so fucking suspicious right now. I think we're pretty close enough as it is, aren't we? No, I say, shaking my head. We need to go right to the edge so we can see all the sea below, all stretched out like a picnic blanket. A picnic blanket, huh? You really do have a way with words, Lilac. I like writing stories, I tell Skylar. You really are creative. I can't believe you can draw and write. I can't do either. Life isn't fair. Maybe you can't draw or write, but you're much prettier than I am. Well, thank you, but there's more to life than looks. People say that, but they don't mean it. Some of the girls at school tease me because I look ugly. Then that's very bad of them. You're not ugly in the slightest. You have a sweet, heart-shaped face and lovely blue eyes. It's... I think this game is open to going anywhere, Lux. Anywhere at all. My hair is short and ratty, and my nose is too big. And my eyebrows are the wrong shape, and I'm too skinny and pale. And who's been telling you all that rubbish? Isla and Phoebe and Lucy and Megan. Mostly Megan. Those names sound familiar. I think your brother mentioned them to me. He said those girls give you a lot of grief. They do, but I try to ignore them. That's the best way to go about it. I'm sure they're just jealous because you're so smart and creative, Skylar says. I don't think they're jealous, I say, looking down at the ground. I wouldn't be jealous of me. That's because you're looking too closely at yourself. It's easy to see your imperfections if you stare at them. Nobody else is looking that hard, I promise, Skylar says, resting a hand on my shoulder. I don't like the feeling of her hand on my shoulder. It's too heavy, and it makes me uncomfortable. I want to shake it off, but I don't. I want to push Skylar away from me, but I don't do that either. I just stand there, staring, looking at the dark sky, which is studded with stars. The stars look like they're arranged in the sky haphazardly, without any order, but I know that isn't true. The stars all have fixed positions, and you can pick out certain shapes in them depending on which part of the world you live in. I like that. I don't like disorder, which is why I dislike McDonald's at the school canteen. Oh yeah, big. I forgot to mention that. She went on an entire rant about McDonald's being good food. But I do find it satisfying when something that looks disorderly is actually very neat and precise. All the stars and the planets have their own place in the night sky. I wish I had my own place too. Yeah. When she was complaining about dinner, she went on and talked about the fact that she likes McDonald's. She doesn't like the restaurant because it's loud and messy, but she likes their food and the fact that it all comes in separate containers, so none of her food touches. And she mentioned that she didn't want to tell her mom that she prefers McDonald's. Okay, no, I agree. She's not wrong. It was just very weird and out of place that she just started talking about McDonald's at the dinner table in her head. And also, like, I don't know, was the dev just eating a bunch of McDonald's when they wrote this? Why specifically McDonald's? It was just very weird. They could have just left it at fast food, but they specifically called out McDonald's. Oh, it was all touching. It was a fish pie. Pretty much all of her food was touching. She did complain about that, and like I'm not blaming her for that. I personally don't have any issues with my food touching, but like my older sister has real issues with it. Like to the point that at Thanksgiving she will buy like divided like trays so that she can have the various different foods without them touching. So like I completely get that aspect of it. I was just caught off guard by the sudden mentioning of McDonald's. Yeah, her tism is very, very strong. And like when it very first came up, I thought it was just gonna be like very poor representation and like an excuse for things. But they've handled it better than I thought they would, at least so far. And it's been very true to form for autistic people. So like props to the dev. At least thus far in the story, it's been fairly good autistic representation and true to form. Now, obviously, they have plenty of time to fuck it up, but we'll see. I wish I had my own place too. I thought I did, but Skylar took it. I don't know why I'm telling Skylar so much about myself. I don't want her reassurances or her sympathy, and I certainly don't want her pity. Why did I tell her so much about my life? Maybe it's because it had been such a long time since I felt like I could talk to anybody, and I'm tired of being alone. I pretend that I don't care that all my classmates make fun of me, but I'm only human, even if my dad says I'm as cold as a rock and it still hurts. Yeah, she's fairly good autistic representation, and she's also clearly highly depressed and bullied, so like not I'm not forgiving the brother love or the potential murder that's about to happen. But like she has her more than her fair share of trauma to fuel all of this depression and anxiety. It's a hurt that I try to push deep down inside me, but when it's late and I'm lying awake in my bed at night, sometimes I think about how very alone I am in this world, and it makes me sad. There's no reason for me to tell Skylar that, though. I'd rather be talking to Jessie, but I can't because Skylar is here and she's taken him away from me. That's why I have to get rid of her. I have to, now, before I change my mind. We need to go closer to the edge of the cliff, I say decisively. Yum! There she goes! I shug Skylar's hand off my shoulder, which feels warm and comforting, and walk forwards. I can hear the sea breaking against the jagged rocks below. The wind tugs at my hair and stings my cheeks scarlet. I just love the way they slide across the screen. It's so fucking good. A little Skylar goes after me, her voice carried on the cutting breeze. Are you sure it's safe to stand over there? I'll be fine. I know these cliffs well. I used to take walks here with Jesse a lot in the past. That was when Jesse still lived at home, and he still loved me, and I was the only girl in his life. The only one he cared about. No. But the wind's so strong tonight. I don't want you getting blown off the edge, Skylar says. I might be small, but I'm not that small, I tell her. I'll be fine. I don't know, Skylar says. I'd feel terrible if you fell. What in the world would I tell your brother or your parents? Don't worry so much, I tell Skylar, using the voice Dad always does when Mom's being particularly neurotic. I can't help but worry. I have 2 little brothers, and I'm supposed to be the adult. You're not the adult now, I tell her. I am, and I will tell you a story if you come and stand next to me. Well, alright, but I'll have to keep a hold on you so you don't slip. I won't, I tell her. I would hope not, Skylar says. I examine her. Is Skylar actually worried about me? Or is this one of her witchy tricks? Maybe she's trying to cast a spell on me like she did with my mother, excuse me. I can feel my hatred for her beginning to waver the longer I stand here, but I can't let myself fall for her charms. I don't want Skylar to worry about me. She should be more worried about herself. Dun, dun, dun. Skylar takes a few steps forward. She stands by my side on the edge of the cliff, looking out at the dark night sky and the dark night sea. The moon is round, and the sun has come up, and somebody left with the cup, but not perfectly full, and half hidden by clouds. When I look down, I can see the moon reflected in the ocean water, which ripples 300 feet below and breaks up the rocks into white foam. That's what I keep waiting for her to just be like, yoink, and just shove her off the fucking cliff. The sky and the sea are both so very blue. It feels like I could take one step off the edge of the cliff and fly weightlessly, like Wendy Darling into Neverland. Wow, you were right. The sea really does look pretty from here. I told you so, I say. I should have believed you. It doesn't seem like many people believe you, Lilac. What do you mean? Your parents are always picking on you. They don't seem to appreciate any of your accomplishments. I know it isn't right of me to criticize them, since I'm a guest and all, but I did feel sorry for you. You don't need to be sorry for me. I'm used to it. But that's even worse. I can't imagine being belittled by my own family like that. Well, my dad never really wanted me. I'm his second child from his second marriage. He's never loved my mother as much as Jesse's mom, and he's never loved me as much as he loves Jesse. Did he tell you that? Skylar asks. He doesn't tell me anything. Most of the time, he ignores me. That's how I know. You don't ignore people if you care about them. How horrible, Skylar says quietly. I thought your dad seemed like a nice man, but I can't stand the way he treats you. Most people treat me like that, I say. Poor thing. Would you like me to talk to him? Maybe he'll listen to me if he won't listen to you. You can try, I say, and then I swallow because Skylar won't be able to try if I go through with my plan. She's acting nice to me, as though she cares, like Jesse used to in the past, or Aslan, or Piscori. But she doesn't seem to understand that she is the one who is making me miserable. I'm used to Dad ignoring me, and I have accepted that. I cannot accept this woman taking away the one thing I love more than anything else, then acting so nice about it. Why does she have to be kind to me? Why does she have to pretend that she cares? Nobody else cares, not even Jessie, so why should she? 'Cause she's a mermaid. Lil, are you alright? Skylar asked me softly. I'm fine, I say. Why? You were staring into nothing again and you were shaking. I don't want you coming down with a cold. Maybe we should go back home. Home, she says, as though my home is her home now and my family is hers. How presumptuous. She already has a home, with a loving mother and father and 2 little brothers who adore her. She has much more than I do, but that's not enough for her. She wants to take my older brother from me, and he's the only person in this horrible world who loves me. Jessie was my world. Skylar has invaded my world. She's stealing everything from me. That's why I need to steal everything from her. We can't go home yet, I say. I still haven't told you my story. Oh yes, your story, Skylar says. What is it about? I wonder what story she could possibly be about to tell her. It definitely couldn't be the title of this game. Mermaids, I tell her. Damn, I'm foiled again. Oh, Skylar says. That's right, I say. You might not know it, but mermaids used to live in the sea near Zennor. One of these mermaids was called Morvern, and she was the daughter of King Lear. King Lear? Lear? Sure, we're just gonna go with King Lear, who was the ruler of the ocean. I read in. I can taste salt on my tongue. I scoured the internet for information on this story when I was writing my essay for Mrs. Lambert. I looked at all sorts of websites. I tried really hard on that assignment, but I still got a D. At least it wasn't an F. I feel like a failure, though. One day, when Morvern was sitting on a rock near Zennor Head, she heard a very clear and beautiful singing voice coming from the village of Zennor. She was entranced by the voice and came back the next day, and the next, desperate to hear more of this beautiful song. This continued for weeks until Morvern finally learned that the singing was coming from the church of Saint Zennor during Mass. Morvern went to her father, King Lear, and told him about the song and how badly she wanted to hear it sung in person. Her father was appalled at this idea. He knew the singing was made by humans, and he feared these humans would mistreat Morvern if they saw her. Humans believed mermaids to be wicked creatures that sang sailors into their watery graves, and he did not want these humans harming his precious little girl. At first, the king forbade his daughter to go into the village, but this made Morvern cry. Feeling guilty and sorry for his beautiful daughter, King Lear gave Morvern to go into Zennor in disguise, and told her not to let any humans see her. The wind makes my skirt flutter around my legs. My skirt, like most of my clothes, was picked out by my mother. It's too big for me at the waist, and much too long. Megan is right about me. I really am ugly, on the outside and the in. Did we need that randomly in the middle of the story? Morvern attended the church service that Sunday, wearing a long dress that covered her fish's tail. Did she fucking hop there? How'd she get there? Or did she, do a weird, creaky, walk thing on the tail? How did that work? She opened the door to the church silently so nobody would hear her, and slipped inside as the choir began its final hymn. The congregation were listening to the choir, so nobody heard or saw Morvern. Morvern listened to the choir too. She thought their singing was beautiful, but one voice stood out above all the others. It was a sweet man's voice, so pure it sounded angelic. The voice belonged to a man called Matthew. Matthew. He was young and very handsome. The more he sang, the more Morvern fell for him, until she was utterly under his spell. Morvern wished she could stay in the church and listen to Matthew's singing, but she knew if she lingered, she would be seen by other humans. She crept out of the church before the song could end and ran back to the shore. She dove back into the water, which was cold and dark but familiar and safe, and she promised her father she would not go into the village of man any more. She did not keep her promise. The sound of waves breaking against the rocks mingles with the cool breeze. The stars continue to shine above me in reliably fixed patterns that never change. If only life could be so simple. If only. Morvern tried to keep away from the church, but she couldn't. She kept thinking about Matthew, and so she slipped out of the water and put on her human disguise the following Sunday. She slipped through the old wooden doors quietly and stood in the shadows where nobody could see her, and slipped out again just as quietly, so nobody knew she had even been there. This continued for a year. Nobody saw Morvern, and nobody spoke to her. She continued to watch Matthew from afar, in silence, her love for him growing stronger and stronger every time he sang. Morvern knew Matthew would never return her feelings, but she didn't care. She loved him so much she was happy to watch him from a distance. An unrequited romance was better than being rejected outright, and how could love between a mermaid and a human ever flourish? They were just too different. It was better, then, to keep her feelings to herself. That way she could never, ever get hurt. At least, that's what Morvern thought. Until one night. The clouds above me look gray and steely like barbed wire. I wonder if it's going to rain. Thanks, Lilac. On this night, Morven was so captivated by Matthew's singing that she forgot to leave the church before the last song ended. Excuse me. Matthew's voice, when he reached the final high note of the piece, was so pure and beautiful that Morven sighed deeply in love and admiration, and this sigh was so very sweet and long that it caught Matthew's attention. Matthew looked up from his hymn book and saw Morven at the back of the church. She was so beautiful, with her pale skin and her fair hair, that she took his breath away. Matthew was enchanted, but Morven was terrified. Her father had told her she could not let anyone see her, and she had already broken his trust by returning to Zennor so many times over the last year. Morven tried to flee. She dashed towards the door, even as Matthew called after her to stop. She tore through the church grounds and almost made it to the shore when she tripped on her long dress, which hid her fish's tail. She would have fallen to the ground, but she felt a pair of strong arms wrap around her waist, holding her steady. It was Matthew. My fingers twitch at my sides. They feel cold, like they've been encased in ice. It's unusual for me to speak so much, and it's making my throat feel dry. Me too, girl, me too. Matthew, who had fallen in love with Morven, asked her who she was, and where she had come from, and whether she would stay with him. Morven could not answer any of these questions. She only cried because she was a mermaid, and she knew their love was impossible, even though she loved him. Morven told Matthew this, but he was young and stubborn, and he persisted. It doesn't matter to me what you are, Matthew told Morven. You and I might be different, but you are the most beautiful creature I've ever seen. I never want to be parted from you. I'm happy to hear that, but the villagers will not accept our love, Morven told Matthew tearfully. If they see me, they will kill me. Then I will have to live in the ocean with you, Matthew said. Morven tried to make Matthew change his mind, but it was too late. Matthew scooped Morven up into his arms and ran with her towards the shore. By this point, the congregation had caught up to them. They saw Morven in Matthew's arms, and they saw her fish's tail poking out from the hem of her dress, and they instantly knew what she was. They told Matthew that mermaids were wicked monsters that lured men to their deaths, and he could not go with her into the water because it would kill him. Then let it kill me, Matthew said. I don't care what happens to my body. All I care about is being with this woman who I love, no matter what she may be. The congregation tried to stop Matthew, but he was too fast. He dove into the ocean, still holding Morven, and then the two of them were gone. The people of Zennor never saw Matthew or Morven ever again. They forgot to capitalize the M in Mermaid. It's the title of the game and the story. Come on now. I inhaled deeply, my fingers trembling at my sides. The tale of the Mermaid of Zennor is a long one, and putting it into my own words has tired me. I'm gonna be so real with you, that was not a long story at all. That was like 2 to 3 pages at best. Like, it only seemed long because there was like 3 sentences per slide of this slideshow. I feel exhausted. And, Skylar says, after a long pause, what happened to Morven and Matthew? Oh, damn it, Big, you're right. She has been complaining about reading a 90-page novella this whole time. For context, she's been bitching and complaining about having to read A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, the, famous story that is not in any way long at all. She's been complaining that that's too much work to read. And, Skylar says, after a long oh, I already read that. Fuck it. Nobody knows. That's where the story ends. But it can't end like that, Skylar protests. I want to know if they have a happy ending. If this was a movie, there'd be a dramatic final kiss and then a whole wedding scene. Well, this isn't a movie, I say. This is an old folk story, and they don't always have happy endings. But Matthew and Morven did stay together, didn't they? When I first read the story, I thought that they stayed together for a long time until they turned gray, but I'm not sure now. Why aren't you sure? What changed? Life, I say sadly because it's true. She's so fucking edgy. I was foolish once, and I really did believe love could flourish between people destiny sought to keep apart. I thought Jesse would love me forever. I was wrong. Come on, Lil, you can't end the story like that. Tack on a happy epilogue, at least. I can't do that. I would like to believe they live together, but things aren't always that simple. Oh dear, you're so cynical for your age, Skylar says softly. I'm not cynical, I'm just being practical. Which is exactly what a cynical person would say. But aren't you too young to be so unflinchingly realistic? Can't you let yourself believe they had a happy ending? I would like to believe it, I say. But I know from experience that things don't always work out that way. Not for people who are different. Lil, Skylar says, as she rests a gentle hand on my shoulder, you might be a bit different, but you can have a happy ending too, you know. No, I say, and I can hear the roar of the waves echoing inside my ears. You don't know. Don't try to act like you do. Well, maybe I don't know entirely, but I still want to help. I'm here for you. You're here for me? I ask. That's right. I stare down at the sharp, pointed rocks 300 feet beneath me. The waves break against them, turning up white foam like a witch's cauldron. I can feel my stomach churning too. My fingers clench into fists. I never asked you to be here for me. I never asked you to come here. I know that, Skylar says. I thought it might come as a shock to you. I told Jesse he should let you know about me in advance so you could prepare yourself, but Jesse didn't care, I say. It's not that he didn't care, he just wasn't thinking. Exactly. He wasn't thinking about me. Don't be like that, Lil. Jesse thinks about you a lot. I know he loves you. Not as much as he loves you. That's different. I'm his girlfriend. I might not be his girlfriend forever, but you'll always be his sister, Lil. You'll always have a place in his heart, but I'm only here for the present. You'll always come first in his heart. That's what I thought too, I say quietly. The waves are still smashing against the sharp, jagged rocks. My eyes are roaring. Are they? That's a weird phrase. There's so much noise. I want to drown it all out. You don't need to be jealous of me, Skylar says. I'm not going to steal Jesse from you, I promise. Push her. That's what she says, but she had already stolen him from me. Thinking about it logically, I should have expected this to happen. Skylar is pretty, and I am not. Skylar is kind, and I am not. Skylar is polite, and I am not. Skylar is everything I am not, and everything I will never be, because Skylar is normal, and I am different. And why should Jessie love me more than her? Everything about her is better than me. Does she not realize that, by being kind to me, she's actually hurting me even more? I wanted to be the princess, but now I'm starting to wonder whether I'm actually the wicked witch of this story. You absolutely are. No princess is as ugly as me, and no princess's thoughts are as ugly as mine. I can feel the weight of Skylar's hand on my shoulder. It's far too heavy. Now say it like a Nobi. Oh God. My head hurts. Everything hurts so much. It hurts, and it's all her fault. I'm tired of suffering, and that's why. Oh, I have to fucking pick? Guys, there's gameplay! There's actually gameplay! I'm so fucking shook right now. I wasn't expecting to actually make a choice. Oh, yeah, no, we're absolutely going the dark path. That's without a doubt. Uh, I also feel like this is the end of the game, so maybe hold on, can I can. I'll pause it here. I have no idea, but I have saved the game so we can just watch both, as long as it's not like obscenely long. Alright. Okay, you know what actually? It's about time for me to step away for a second anyway. She does. Gravity needs to shuffle this mortal coil. So I'm gonna go ahead and step away for a second, let the ads do their thing, um, and I will be right back so that it's not trying to fuck with it while we're potentially reading. So, uh, real quick, grab your snacks, grab your popcorn, get a blanket. We're about to see potentially someone get yeeted off a fucking cliff. But I will be right back in just a moment. Enjoy some tunes. Alright, it is time. In the immortal words of Emperor Palpatine, do it. It it isn't fair, I say. And all of a sudden my eyes feel damp and my cheeks feel wet and everything hurts. It isn't fair. I crumple to the ground, my knees colliding with the cold, damp grass. I'll probably get ugly green grass stains on my skirt, and then Mother will scold me, but I can't bring myself to care right now. Nothing matters anymore. It isn't fair, I say again, and my eyes feel hot, and my throat is choked, and my body is trembling from the injustice of it all. I can't stand it. Lilac, Skylar says, and she sounds alarmed. She kneels down before me, both of her hands on my shoulders, and she stares into my eyes. Lilac, what is it? What's wrong? Everything's wrong, I say, and I gasp fitfully as I try to draw in enough air. But the air feels strangely thin up on this cliff, and my whole head is swimming. Everything, everything. What do you mean, everything? Skylar asks, trying to keep her voice calm and level, even though I'm screaming and crying right in front of her. Did I say something to upset you? No, this isn't about you, I yell at her, raising my head to meet her eyes, and all of a sudden I realize just how true that statement is. This isn't about Skylar. Not really. I fixated on her because she was something new and unfamiliar in my life, and it was easy to blame her for my problems. I told myself she was an evil, wicked witch. I wanted so badly to believe that. But I'm 13 years old. I'm not a child. You are most certainly a child. I know fairy stories aren't really real, and there's no such thing as happy endings. If I murdered Skylar before pushing her off a cliff, because pushing her off a cliff would be murder, gotta get that word counted, then I would go to prison. And who could ever love a murderer? That wouldn't help me at all. It would only make things worse. I wish I could make this story have a happy ending, but I'm only 13 years old, and I don't have that sort of power. Hey, Herminator, you showed up at an interesting time. We picked the bad ending, because there was actually gameplay. I can't make anything happen. I can only hope and pray and say I just want to be happy. I want to be loved and have people who love me, but that never seems to work. What do you mean? Skylar asks, and she is kneeling next to me on the grass, and she must be getting ugly green stains on her sleek black trousers, but she doesn't seem to care. What doesn't work, Lil? Nothing works, I tell her fretfully, sniffing a trail of snot back up my nose. Gross. I try to be a good girl in school, but I still get bullied. Nobody gets in trouble when they're mean to me, because I'm the problem child. And I stabbed Megan in the hand with a compass in math class last year, and everybody thinks I deserve it. I agree, why hasn't she pushed her? Oh, Lil, Skylar says softly, and her eyes are moist and gentle, and I am talking so quickly she probably doesn't understand what I'm saying, but she doesn't try to interrupt me. She massages my shoulders with her fingers, which I should hate, but right now it doesn't feel so bad, and she says, "You don't deserve that. Nobody deserves to be bullied." But people bully me anyway, I tell her. They do it because I'm different, and they don't understand me. But they don't even try to understand me. They don't want to understand me. Neither do Mom and Dad. Yeah, I feel like I see where this is actually going. They say I'm a nuisance, and they always snap at me for things I can't help. Or they pretend I don't exist because I am a bother, and it's easier for them to ignore me. But it isn't easier. Oh no, I hadn't considered that big. Oh goodness. That would be fucking wild. That would be a choice on the writer's part. I can't imagine it would be, Skylar says. I can't imagine how you must be feeling at all, but that really does sound hard. It is hard, I say, choking on my tears, and though my heart hurts, it hurts a little less than it did. Or plot twist, the choice doesn't matter. It's rare that people ever acknowledge how hard things must be for me. My mother always talks about how difficult I make her life. My father never talks to me at all. Skylar is different from them. She seems to really care about me. It's funny. I thought I hated Skylar. I didn't want to talk to her. I didn't want anything to do with her at all, because she was the cruel and wicked witch dressed in black who cast a magic spell on my family and made them all love her. That's what I thought. But perhaps she's not so wicked after all. I've never told anybody how I feel before. I've been keeping all these emotions locked up inside me because the last time I let my feelings get the better of me, I stabbed Megan in the hand with a compass. And then I was suspended from school, and I was diagnosed with autism in the hospital, and my mother told me she was very, very ashamed of me. At the time, I didn't know if she was ashamed that I stabbed Megan or because I'm autistic or both. I've tried to keep my emotions to myself ever since. I wore a blank, apathetic mask when Isla and Megan and Phoebe and Lucy threw things at me on the bus and called me names. I tried to pretend it didn't hurt, but it still did. Dad ignores me. Mom scolds me. Even Jesse, who was always so nice and kind and understanding, only wanted me around so he could do things he liked, like going to old castles or playing his guitar or watching horror movies. He didn't ask about me. Maybe he never cared about me as much as I thought, or maybe I got so good at pretending nothing was wrong he never thought to ask. He thought I was fine. I wasn't fine. It's hard for me, and nobody seems to care that it's hard for me because they're so busy fussing about how I make things hard for them, I say, my whole body shaking like it's gonna fall apart. Maybe it already has. That's very selfish and wrong of them, Skylar says, her fingers rubbing my shoulders in slow, comforting motions. You're not a bother, Lil. You're your own human, and you have worth and value, and nobody should make you feel like you don't. Skylar, I say, and I hiccup. Hiccough? Interesting. Even more tears are rising into my eyes. I look at her, sniffing, wiping my eyes with the back of my arm, and I have never felt smaller or softer or more fragile. Dad says I'm cold and unfeeling, like a lump of stone. He's never been more wrong. I do too have feelings. I have so many complicated, conflicting feelings, I don't know what to do with them. And I know nobody else wants to hear about them, so I bury them. I buried them inside me so deep that they turned into diamonds. Now they're cutting my insides open. I don't know what to do. I act like I know what to do, but I never really know. I don't know anything. Now that isn't true. You're a smart girl, and I'm sure you know some things. No, I don't, I tell her. I thought I knew the truth. I thought you were a wicked witch, but you're not. Megan is a witch, and so are my mother and father, and all the people who've ever been mean to me. They're the wicked ones. You thought I was a witch? Skylar says, and a small smile rises to her red lips. Well, that might be fun. But witches are evil and wicked, and you're not wicked. Not all witches are wicked, Skylar says. Some of them tell fortunes with tarot cards, and they make herbal remedies and heal people, and they have lots of black cats. Not the witches in fairy tales, I say. They're ugly, and they have big noses, and they wear black, and they boil children in cauldrons and eat their bones. Oh no, I've eaten their bones. I do wear a lot of black, but I don't think I'd like to eat children. There'd be too many bones. The human body has 206 bones, I tell her. I read it on the internet. I didn't know that, Skylar says, smiling. See, you do know a lot of things. I don't know anything useful, I say, and I was wrong about the things I thought I knew, because you're not a witch. I might not be a witch, but I can be wicked when I want. Yeet! And she giggles. My younger cousins think I'm very wicked indeed when I babysit them, and I tell them to go to bed by 9, and I don't let them eat any ice cream. I don't like ice cream, I tell her. because food is a nice and normal topic and it doesn't make me want to cry. I don't like slimy food. What foods do you like? Skylar asks me, as though she really truly cares about my likes and dislikes. It's almost like she's actually interested in me, not just as an object of ridicule or curiosity, but a real person. Mom has never ever asked me what I like. I've lived with Mom for all of 13 years, but she's shown less interest in me as a person than Skylar has over 2 days. I like hard, dry, crumbly foods, like biscuits or toast or crackers. I like most meat too, as long as it isn't greasy or than flaky pastries that don't have slimy fillings. I see. I'll have to keep in mind when you visit Jessie and me in London. You would let me visit you? I ask her. Of course. I like you a lot, Lil, and I know Jessie loves you, and we'd both be happy if you came to stay. Does Jessie love me? I ask her. He does. I know he can be a bit thoughtless sometimes, but he really does care about you. He's always worrying about you. He was afraid your mother and father wouldn't treat you very well when he was gone. And maybe he was right. Mom and Dad have never been nice to me, I say. I'm used to it. But you don't like being used to it, do you? I shake my head. Then I'll talk to them, Skylar says firmly, her expression set. Jessie and I will argue on your behalf, Lil. We won't let them mistreat you. They've never hit me, I tell her, because I don't want her to think my situation is more serious than it is. And if she scolds my parents, they might get angry at me for telling tales. It doesn't matter, Skylar says. They don't need to hit you. They talk over you and they ignore you and they make you feel bad. That's just as horrible. It has been horrible. I agree with her, my voice quiet now after my outburst. I know other people have it worse than I do, so I thought I should be quiet and ignore it. But there's a limit to how many things I can ignore. It builds and builds until... You feel like you're going to explode? Skylar asks. I nod. Well, I don't want to say I know how you feel, because I don't. I've only known you for 2 days, and it would be presumptuous of me to think I understand everything. But I do know that I don't want you to be sad. You care about my happiness? I ask her. That's right, Skylar says, and so does Jessie. We both care about you. I'm not used to people caring about me, I say, and the idea is so strange and foreign that it makes me frown. Well, you should get used to it, because I'm going to do my best to cheer you up. You're such a pretty girl. It's a shame for you to frown so much. Close enough. I don't have much to smile about, and I'm not pretty. I think you're pretty, Skylar says. You're just saying that. It isn't true. It's true to me. You have very lovely blue eyes and smooth skin, much smoother than mine when I was 13. And your hair is sleek and glossy. You almost remind me of a kitten. I'm not a kitten. I'm a human. I'm a real girl. That's right, Skylar says firmly. You're a human with feelings, and I think your parents need to be reminded of that. Skylar, I say, and I blink at her with my blue eyes, which seem to be getting bluer by the minute, and blush.
Garbage day!
Perfect timing. What? She asks. I say, and then I pause. I frown. Jessie made me apologize to Skylar yesterday, though I didn't feel like apologizing. The apology was forced from me, and it tasted bitter on my unwilling tongue. I was determined to hate her back then, but I'm not anymore. I'm sorry, I say, and this time I really do mean it. I'm trying to figure out how the choice was I wish this had a happy ending. Are they gonna reconcile and then stand up and just whoop, off the fucking cliff anyway? Like, what? Where is this going? I'm sorry that I hated her. I'm sorry that I was so mean to her. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I would apologize to her hundreds of times if that would wash away the unjust hatred I felt towards her which almost resulted in me doing something wicked and violent I would never ever be able to take back. To my surprise, however, Skylar smiles. She ruffles my hair just like Jessie always used to. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm thinking one of them's just gonna slip off of this cliff. Like, you've heard of shuffling off the mortal coil? They're gonna slip off the mortal coil. Just whoop. Her skin smells faintly of lavender. You don't need to apologize, she says. You didn't do anything wrong. I thought about doing something wrong, I tell her tearfully. But you didn't. And it's your Cha-Cha slide up the cliff. Big no. Cha-Cha real smooth. But you didn't. It was your actions that define who you are, not your thoughts. I have a lot of wicked thoughts, I say. Sometimes it makes me wonder whether I'm really a witch. You're not a witch, and you're not wicked, Skylar says. You're only 13 years old. Maybe other people have been mean to you, and maybe you have been mean to them back, but that doesn't make you bad. I'm not so sure, I say. It's normal to be unsure of yourself at your age. The doctor told me I wasn't normal. You might process things differently from other people, but that isn't a bad thing. You're not bad. I don't think you are, at least. You deserve to be happy. I don't know if I can, though. Happiness seems so far away, I say, and I sigh heavily, because all of a sudden I feel so tired. Maybe it is, and you might face more obstacles than Excuse me, goodness. And you might face more obstacles than everybody else, but I hope you can make it in the end. I really, truly do. Skylar wraps her arms around me in a warm, gentle hug. My body tenses. I don't like being hugged. I don't like the sensation of unfamiliar fabric against my skin, and I don't like being in such close proximity to strangers. It makes me feel uncomfortable. At least it usually does. But Skylar is very soft, like lavender, and when she hugs me, it makes me think that things might not be too terrible after all. Whoop. Oh, they made it back. I have some doubts, but Skylar keeps her word. We're sitting in the living room the next day when Skylar broaches the subject. She says she has something she wants to talk about, but first she asks for my permission, which is quite novel. Yeah, this basic fucking guy. You're so upset that he's smiling. Why? This is why it's unhappy, because she lived. Few people seem to care how I feel. I'll only talk about it if it's alright with you. Do you mind, Lila? I shrink it on myself, my fingers digging into my thighs. Oh, I fucking hope not. Actually, I lie. I hope so. That would be very funny and unhinged. I'm not sure if I really do mind. After my conversation with Skylar, I feel very uncertain and unsure of almost everything. I am worried if Skylar talks to my parents, they'll be angry. They'll be angry at me for telling tall tales, and they'll be angry at Skylar for listening to me. My dad has a short temper. He might lash out at Skylar. He'll shout at her and tell her to mind her own business, and Jesse will be upset. And he will shout at Dad, and then everybody will start shouting. They will all shout about, and I will sit there feeling small and stupid and guilty. I do not want to make anybody angry. I do not think I am worth it. Sometimes I wish I could disappear. But if I do not tell anybody how I feel, they will never know, and then I'll never be able to be happy. Because it is better if Skylar tells my dad how I feel after all. She's better with words than I am, and she will probably be able to describe everything better than I could. My dad is scary, but Skylar does not seem to be afraid. She is very brave. I wish I could be like her. It's alright. You can tell my parents what happened. What did happen? My dad asked, sitting up a bit straighter on the sofa. What have you done now, Lilac? I haven't done anything, I say quietly, and my dad snorts. That's rubbish. You're always up to something, slinking around the house like a bad smell. She didn't do something to upset you, did she, Skylar? True. If she has, I'm terribly sorry, my mother says. I've tried to raise her well, but she's so obtuse. She never listens. Sometimes I don't know why we bother, my dad says, and I wince. So does Skylar. Lilac didn't do anything to upset me, Skylar says, though I wonder if she would still be saying that if she knew I had planned to kill her. She's the one who's upset. Lilac? Upset? She's always been a moody madam. You should just ignore her. I've never heard the phrase moody madam, but that's kinda dope. Like you always do, you mean? Skylar says coolly, and then there's silence. My dad looks stunned. So does my mother. The temperature in the room seems to drop by several degrees as, oh shit, it's a ghost. Though I know in reality, it does not. There's a long, uncomfortable silence. Then my dad says, what do you mean? I mean what I said. Lilac is your daughter. You should give her a bit of attention from time to time, but you never do. You act like she doesn't exist, and when you remember that she does, you treat her like a nuisance. Skylar narrows her eyes. She's breathing heavily, and her shoulders are shaking. I've never seen her look more upset. You've known her for 2 days. Fucking course you haven't. Is it any wonder why she looks so gloomy all the time? Skylar asks, but she does not wait for a reply. I suppose this is what Mrs. Lambert would call a rhetorical question. It's because you've been ignoring her. What? Where is all this coming from? What has Lilac been telling you? She didn't need to tell me much. I have ears. Eyes, too. Okay, close enough. I heard and saw enough for myself to deduce what's going on. There's nothing going on, my dad counters. He always smiles when he looks at Skylar, but he isn't smiling now. I've been as good a father as I can to Lilac, but she makes it so bleeding difficult. It'd be a different story if she was a nice, normal child, but... You shouldn't say that about your own daughter, Lilac says. Or, Skylar says, excuse me. Lilac is Lilac, and you should love her for who she is. You can't wish her into being somebody else. It's cruel. I'm not cruel, my dad says, but he sounds weaker now, less self-assured. I look after her, don't I? I give her enough food to eat, and I send her to school. I'm doing the best I can with the hand I was dealt, but you don't understand what it's like. No, I don't understand. I'm sure you have your own problems, but Lilac is still your daughter. You ought to take more of an interest in her. Isn't that your duty? My duty, my dad says, and his face goes very red. Who are you to tell me about my duty? You're still a child yourself. I know I have a lot to learn, Skylar concedes, and I don't mean to be rude. You've been very good to me. I just wish you could extend the same courtesy to your daughter. What? My dad sputters indignantly, his face turning redder and redder. His hands clench into fists. For a few moments, I worry he might lose his temper and really hit Skylar. I shrink in on myself. I want to disappear. This is all my fault. I never wanted any of this to happen. I am not worth it. Maybe it would have been better if I had not been born at all. Damn it, Lilac. But time passes, and Skylar remains staunch and unmoving, and my father eventually buckles. He breathes in deeply, massaging his pulsating temple with his fingers. Then he lets his hands fall to his lap. They're not clenched into fists anymore. Lilac, he says, after a long pause. Is this true? Have I really been cruel to you? I open my mouth. I close it. I look down at my feet, not knowing what to say. I've never heard my father speak like this before. Not to me, at least. This is the same sad, defeated sort of voice he uses whenever he brings up Jesse's mother. But my dad is big and tall and fancies himself as being strong, so he does not like to bring up Jesse's mother. He does not like to be weak. The man sitting in front of me seems almost like a stranger. I don't know what to say. There's a long, awkward pause. I try to gather my thoughts, my head bowed. I do not think you are a bad father, I say quietly. You never hit me, at least. You are not so terrible. But sometimes when I am with you, I feel terrible. I breathe in, my eyes sting. When I try to talk, you don't listen, or it looks like I annoy you. So I stop talking. I thought that would make you happy, but it doesn't. I don't know how to make you happy. I am trying, but it's hard. I just want us all to be happy. That's certainly a take, Big. Lilac, my mother says. Is that true? I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true, I reply. Oh, Lilac, my mother says, and she sighs. I thought you were just being difficult to spite me, but maybe I was being thoughtless. We've never seen eye to eye, have we? No. Well, you are taller than me, I say. My mother laughs, but it isn't a happy laugh. That isn't what I meant, she says. It seems like we're always talking past each other, aren't we? I was never able to talk with you like your brother could. You seemed happy with him, but not with me. To be honest, it made me feel jealous. You were jealous of me? Jessie says. Oh look, he finally fucking speaks. Yes, my mother confesses softly. I know I shouldn't have been. It was very petty. But how else was I supposed to feel after being rejected by my own daughter? I wasn't rejecting you, and if I was, I didn't mean to. I was just being myself, and I never wanted to make anybody sad. And I never wanted to make you sad either, Lilac. Somehow it just all happened, my mother says. Well, now you know what has happened. Maybe you can make it not happen, I suggest hopefully. I don't want us to fight. I don't want to fight either. Believe you me, I don't. I hate living in such a desolate house, all of us sitting in separate rooms, not talking. We're not like a real family. I've tried, my father says. God knows I've tried. But work has been so stressful, everything's been mounting up. Maybe I was ignoring Lilac, and you, Heather. I honestly forgot that was the mom's name. I thought that was for the best, but maybe I was being unfair. My dad swallows. He looks between my mother and I, his expression unusually gentle. I'm sorry, Lilac. I'm sorry to you too, Heather. Skylar's right. As much as I hate to admit it, I have been a bit of a louse. I never thought I would hear my own father apologize to me for anything. I think this might be the first time it has happened. It feels like a milestone. Certainly it is an achievement. I still do not think my dad will ever grow to love me. And I do not know if I could ever love him. He has hurt me too much. It's because of him that I exist, but I do not feel much closer to him than I would to a stranger on the street. It might be too late for us already. But maybe my dad will learn to like me, or maybe tolerate me, even if he cannot love me. I am not entirely convinced that things will get better, even with Skylar's help, but I will try to be optimistic for once in my life. That's all I can really do. I cling to this fragile hope during the rest of the Christmas holidays. I've never found it easy to be happy, but it comes more naturally when I'm with Skylar. She's kind and gentle, and she seems to understand me like nobody else does. I wonder if that is because she, unlike all the others, actually wants to understand me. I show her my drawings of my anime girls, even though it's embarrassing, and she compliments me so sincerely that I blush. We go on walks together during the day, her, Jessie, and me, and in the evenings we sit in the living room together and watch silly horror movies with the bad special effects that Jessie covets so much. Oh, horror movies mentioned, this is a horror game. Skylar tells me about living in London and her two brothers and her family dog. She tells me stories about her childhood and her school friends and the teachers she disliked and the handsome art teacher she had a crush on. I have never had a crush on a teacher. I have only ever liked my brother. We know, Lilac, we fucking know. But when I see Jesse and Skylar together laughing, arms linked, I do not feel as angry as I did before. It still hurts, but it is a bearable kind of hurt. I do not feel like my chest is being split open or my heart is being cracked in two, which is a good thing. Skylar's giggly, embarrassed stories about her art teacher make me wonder whether I loved Jessie at all in the grand romantic way you read about in fairy tales. Maybe I was mistaken about my feelings. I never realized it until now, but there is more than one way to love somebody. There is romantic love, but there is family love, and also friendship love. These feelings are called love, but they are not the same feeling. Is it any wonder I got so confused? Honestly, given how heavily autistic you are, it's not actually that confused. That it's not that surprising. How can other people distinguish between all these forms of love? There are too many to keep track of. I ask Skylar this, and she smiles and says most people don't know. I suppose that's why relationships can be so messy sometimes, and people get divorced, and couples stay together that seem to hate each other, like my mom and dad. It's a lot for me to fathom. These things will probably never come to me as easily as they do other people, but I am not other people. Maybe some things will never come easily to me. It doesn't seem at all fair, but then again, the world isn't. I spend an almost happy Christmas with Jessie and Skylar and my mother and father. It's almost happy because Skylar is talkative and cheerful. She makes an effort to include me in all the conversations. The food is good too, and for once my mother does not insist on dousing my turkey in roast potatoes and carrots and gravy. She actually listens to me. Well, she listens to Skylar. But Skylar listens to me, so I suppose that's more or less the same thing. Christmas is not completely happy, because the atmosphere around the dinner table is a bit awkward, and my dad doesn't really speak to me, but that's nothing new. He almost never speaks to me. At least he doesn't shout. I feel sorry when I have to say goodbye to Jessie and Skylar, but I know it is not the end of the world. Jesse promises he will keep in contact, and so does Skylar. I worry that my parents will go back to the way they always were with the house empty again. Jesse's bed stripped, his covers folded away. My dad does become more distant, and my mother stops smiling so much, but I think they are making an effort. My dad at least tries to speak with me, though he doesn't always know what to speak about, and my mother catches herself, though not literally, before she can scold me on several occasions. Perhaps they are not doing their best, but they are doing something. I still dread going back to school, though. I've been working hard to be happy. It's not as easy as the smiling people and toothpaste adverts make it look, but I am afraid the bullies will ruin all that. I'm surprised this game is still going. I wait at the bus stop on the first day back to school, my head bowed and my hands clenched together at my front. My uniform feels strange after being folded in my wardrobe unworn for so long. It refuses to conform to my body properly. It is small and tight and pinched around the shoulders, and my ugly brown school shoes, that is something else Megan teases me about, are hurting my feet. Maybe I have grown during Christmas. I did eat more than I usually do. I glance up and down the street. My heart feels like it's doing somersaults in my chest, even though I know it isn't. It's a very cold January morning. The sky is gray and overcast, and the cold wind tugs at the hem of my skirt. My school skirt stops below my knees, but it does nothing to protect me from the cold. I shudder. If I am freezing, I wonder how Megan must feel. Her skirt is even shorter than mine. Boys always jostle to walk past Megan when we have to go to the IT or science department, which are on the second floor, so they can look up her skirt. One head, our head of year, Mr. Morgan, always scolds Megan about her skirt, but she laughs and shakes her head and ignores him. Why is he even looking anyway? She says to Isla and Phoebe and Lucy. I should report him. He's such a creep. Yeah? I wonder if that's why Megan is so cross all the time. She must be freezing because of her skirt. She's the bully because her thighs are cold. That's how that works. Maybe her parents are too poor to buy her a skirt that fits properly. Or maybe they don't love her enough to care. Is she sad and lonely like I am? But Megan has a lot of friends at school, and I only have Aslan. Megan can't be lonely. I think she's just mean. She will definitely be mean to me when she sees me. She'll probably be even more vicious than usual, because it's been almost 2 weeks since she last saw me, and there isn't much to do in Cornwall. She must have been bored. Making fun of me seems to be her favorite pastime. I think she should get more hobbies. She should get a life. Then maybe she can leave my life alone. My hands are cold. I bring them to my face and blow on them. My palms are red. My knees are weak. My palms are sweaty. I am the only person waiting at the bus stop. Zennor is tiny, and I am the only person here who goes to St. Ives School. The bus is late. Maybe it won't come after all. Maybe it has crashed and toppled and overturned, and Isla and Phoebe and Lucy and Megan are all dead, and I'll never have to think about Megan or her short skirt ever again. That would be a wonderful Christmas present. Hot damn. I think I would like it even better than the colorful Copic markers Jessie bought me, and I liked those a lot. Of course, I know it's very unlikely that this has happened. Things in life do not always work out the way you want. You just have to keep going. Perhaps things won't be as bad as they used to be. At the very least, I do not think they could be much worse. Maybe that is something I should feel happy about. I am pondering this when the bus arrives, with a familiar rumble of tires. I shrink back at first, afraid, but I try to tell myself I am not alone. I have Aslan and Jessie and Miss Corey, and I suppose I have Skylar now. I'll probably get bullied, just like always, but I think I can endure it. I know I have people who care about me. I take a deep breath of wintry air. It is so cold it chills me to the bone. Then I lift my head and step onto the bus. What the fuck? Why was why was this associated with the choice of I wish this had a happy ending? No, I agree. Boo. I wanted Ebihime, just so you know. Oh, I'm gonna load the save. Can I, like, speed this up at all? Oh, oh. Come on. There we go. Hold up. I'll make this story have a happy ending. Alright. I pushed Skylar's horrible heavy. Wait, is this really the murder? Don't touch me, I scream. Don't touch me, don't speak to me, don't look at me. Lil, Skylar says, looking at me with wide, innocent eyes, but I won't let her trick me any longer. I won't let this witch cast a spell on me like she did for my brother. Wait, why is this the murder ending? Don't call me Lil. Only my brother can call me that, because I love him, and I don't love you. But Lil, Skylar says, and her face looks very pale, I was just trying to be nice. You thought I was so sad and needy and desperate I'd thank you for your pity? Do you think I'm that pathetic? No, Lil, Skylar says, but I don't want to hear her anymore. I can barely hear her anyway because the wind is howling in my ears and my blood is thumping in my head and I just want it to stop. I already told you not to call me that, I scream. My voice doesn't sound like my voice. It doesn't sound like any human voice I've ever heard either. It sounds raw and angry like the howling of an enraged beast. I'm not a princess. Maybe I'm not even a witch. Am I even human? I don't want your pity or your fake friendship. I don't want it. Lil, I'm sorry if I upset you. I didn't mean to. I was just trying to interfere, I shout. You think you understand me, but you've only known me 2 days. I'm not that simple. I know you're not, Skylar says, and her voice is loud now, too, and pleading. I didn't mean that. I wasn't looking down on you. I just. You're a liar, I shout. Everybody looks down on me. Everybody. I'm not looking down on you, Skylar. I swear I'm not. You are, I retort, because arguing is all I can do. I've never been agreeable. You pretend to be nice, but you're not doing it because you care about me. Nobody cares about me. You're just doing it because you want to look good in front of Jesse. I do want to get on with Jesse's family, Skylar says, taking another step backwards. But is that really such a bad thing? I was just trying to be friendly. But not for my sake. It's never for my sake. You and Mrs. Corey, even Aslan, all the people who act nice to me do it because it's their job, or because they want to feel good about themselves, or because they want to impress my brother, I shout. My fingers are trembling at my side. I can't keep them still, even when I clench them into fists. I've been screaming so very loudly that my throat is sore. It feels like it's burning. It's cold outside, and the wind is howling like it is crying, but I feel warm all over. My face is turning red. It's not about me. It's never about me, I shout. I'm just a burden, a bother, a pain. I'm somebody you comfort and console so you can pat yourself on the back, but it's never about how I really feel. Nobody cares how I feel. But that isn't true, Lil, Skylar says, staring at me with her large and smoky eyes, which look larger and smokier than ever in the dark. I do care. I do care about you. No, you don't, I say. You don't. Lil, Skylar starts to say, but I cut her off. Oh, oh. I take a step forwards. The grass, which is swaying in the crisp night air, compacts beneath the heel of my shoe. Skylar takes another step back. The buckles of her thick, black, witchy boots shine in the moonlight. She is standing right on the edge of the cliff, which scared her so much only a few minutes ago. Now she doesn't seem to notice it. Her eyes are trained on me. She does not know it, but I am cornering her. All it would take is one push, and then. If you cared about me, then you would have never stolen my brother from me. I wasn't trying to steal him. I didn't mean to. But you did anyway, I say, taking another step forwards. You took the one person away from me who loved me and cared about me, and now I have nobody. Yep, there's the picture. Lil, Skylar starts to say, but I cut her off again. I don't want to hear a single word this witch has to say. You stole everything from me, so don't act like you care. Don't pretend like you know how I feel. You don't understand, so just shut up. Shut up, shut up, shut up. I've been screaming so much that my vocal cords feel like they're in real danger of tearing. My whole body is falling apart. Bits of me have broken off like flotsam. They're floating away. My patience and my reason and my sanity are all gone. But how can I be patient and reasonable and sane when I'm so unhappy? I've been unhappy for a long, long time, but I always tried to ignore it because I knew if I let myself be sad, that I'd never be able to recover. I acted like Isla and Phoebe and Lucy and Megan's insults rolled right off me, but they didn't really. Of course they didn't. Everything they did and said to me hurt. Mrs. Corey always tells me sticks and stones may break my bones, but names can never hurt me. But she's wrong. That's a lie because names can hurt, and I told myself they couldn't because it wasn't a real physical hurt, like falling over and skinning my knees in PE, or being hit in the shin with a hockey stick, but it hurts all the same. It still hurts. I've been hurting for so long and nobody knows. Nobody cares. They think I don't have the mental capacity to understand suffering because I'm autistic, or maybe they think I'm so developmentally stunted that I don't feel emotions like other humans, but that isn't true. I feel things just like everybody else. Whew. This is a long internal monologue. I might appear cold and distant, and maybe I don't always know what to say or how I'm supposed to look, but I still cry when I get hurt like everybody else. Skylar can try and act nice, but that's all it is. It's just an act. She doesn't know me, and she'll never know me, and I'm tired and it hurts and I'm sick, 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 sick. I can't stand it. All these emotions which I've tried to keep bottled up deep inside my heart, where they can't annoy or inconvenience anybody, suddenly surge upward until I feel like I really might be sick. It's all too much. I think that is why I push her. There's no dramatic image of her like going, ah, off the cliff. Come on now. Skylar doesn't try to resist. I don't think she expected it, so she can't move out of the way. Her red hair and her red lips, which once looked so bold and bright and daring, now clash horribly with her bloodless, pale face. She is a witch and she is evil and she must be defeated. That's logical. But if she really is a witch, then why does she look so scared? She doesn't use any magic to protect herself. She doesn't try to drag me down into the abyss with her. Instead, she falls backwards, surrendering herself to the inexorable pull of gravity. She's falling. I watch her as she tumbles through the air like a rag doll, growing smaller and smaller all the while. Her red hair streams through the sky like a standard or a banner or the dying flames of a phoenix. She doesn't scream. Maybe she can't. The shock of being pushed must have forced all the air out of her lungs. She hits the sharp, jagged rocks 300 feet below me. The waves crash against the rocks. The wind screams in my ear. It takes me a few moments to work out that I am screaming too. We get sad lilac instead of like, come on. I was looking forward to like artwork of like lilac shoving and her being like arms stretched out like ah off the cliff. Instead we just get sad lilac. I crouch down on the ground, the grass brushing against my ankles, and I clap my hands over my face and I scream and I scream and I scream. I scream for my brother, who I know will never love me now. I scream for Skylar, who did not scream when I pushed her. I scream for myself and all the times my heart has been broken. I scream and I scream and I can't stop screaming. I don't know if I'll ever be able to stop. Hey, button trophy, game's done. Okay, so what this is telling me is that this game has a choice in it, and therefore it has gameplay, and the optimal route for the speedrun is murder. Because that was much faster. Why would I speedrun this? I wouldn't speedrun this. I absolutely fucking would not. but but if I were going to, the faster route is murder. And then it just pops us back. Yep. No, not options. Hold on. Gallery. Ah, look. The whopping 7 photos that the game had. Notes. Oh! I'm not going to read all this out loud because I don't feel like it, but let's see. Da, 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 da. Okay. Uh, hey, hey, the murder ending. The murder ending is the intended route. It's the intended ending. In a moment of weakness, I added a second ending, which has a slightly more hopeful bend to it. This is fucking gold. Oh boy, this was certainly a game. If you're too, yeah, I know, right? Like, so here's the funny thing about all of this. I preferred the murder ending, if for no other reason than it's what the game was leading to the whole time. So it feels like the right ending, but also like the not murder ending, like that got weirdly hopeful and cheery. Like it was like I feel like it was too far of an overcorrect, if that makes sense. I will say though, it in both, yeah, the not murder ending is, I agree. Like this is where the story was going. This girl was, she was on the brink before she ever even met Skylar. So like this feels inevitable. Um that being said, having played the whole game, I do not dislike it as much as I thought I was going to within the first hour or so of it. It did end up a lot better than it started. And I will give props to the author for that. Um, because it did end better than it started. Hey, you can disagree with me all you want, but it did end better than it started. No. I am not. I will start. I may start playing more visual novels in general because I did actively enjoy kind of reading through it and chilling. Um, so who knows? Maybe even that Dan Gan Rainbow is on the menu. Because here's the thing, I actively enjoy Danganronpa. Um, and the only time I have played through it was with a group of friends IRL, and we all assigned roles and read through it together, and that was a fucking blast, admittedly. But also it meant that I didn't really have a chance to like process and enjoy it on my own time and on my own. So I may legitimately play through the Danganronpa games on stream because I had way more fun with this than I thought I was going to. And I'm glad that I pushed myself to actually have to read something out loud for multiple hours. I am also going to be very real for a moment. I am still very glad that I did not pay for this game. I am glad that I did not pay for this game. Um, but shout outs to the dev or the publishers, whichever it was that gave me the key. Um, I did enjoy it more than I thought I was going to, even if the quote unquote happier ending did feel extremely forced and unrealistic. Should have just stuck with the murder ending, in my opinion. Although, that said, it's already like 1:30 in the morning. Hey, you know what? I appreciate that. If nothing else, it was a good time. Like, I feel like this was a good time, if nothing else. um, and hey, I can officially say,
Garbage day!
yeah, garbage day. Fuck you, Twitch. I don't need ads right now. I'm about to end stream. I'm just talking. Um, it's, I'm gonna be very selfish and say this on stream, and though I probably shouldn't. Part of the reason that I got into streaming was just to force myself to like talk and do the things and have fun with it. And taking the time to read this all fully, I feel like is a good step in the right direction. Because I sometimes feel very awkward in games that are text heavy because I would just kind of not read it and it felt like it was very awkward and it made me feel awkward. Uh, so I, e- like, this is only like 6 hours worth of reading, but that's more reading out loud than I've done in literally like a decade. So, my immortal win? Probably never, because why would I do that when I could just pull up the VOD of you doing it and be like, haha, all credit to Big Scared, they did it better than I ever will. Next time someone tells me to read My Immortal on stream, I will just give them the link to your video of it. That said, though, actually, I can literally just show y'all it. So I am that person who actually made folders of my games. And I literally have an entire folder that's just called Weeb Trash. And it is visual novels of varying degrees of quality and appropriateness for stream. Some of them are literally on the banned from Twitch list, so I won't do those. But I do have more visual novels that I may go through at some point. Um, you better believe I have had a full boyfriend. Where is it? Where's the birds?